Christmas 2021 going to 2022. I'm going to talk about time travel, energies and frequencies, vibration, and how that correlates with now. Look at now, we scramble the words. We see own, we see one, which is to win. Win, we see window. So when we get into frequencies and vibrations, we know about chakras, and we're going with different colors from the bottom to the top. So I'm going to start with that because I'm kind of going with this earth, wind, and fire cover here with the electricity. It's raining here in Connecticut outside of Hartford. Freezing rain. So I got a lot of albums with some sick artwork I've been collecting, and I just so happen to have quite a few of them right now. So I'm going to use this time to go through this. I'm out with my family on Christmas. I'm here doing what I love. And I'm going through some old books and albums and stuff I have. That's the Nirvana Sliver, which came out, was released after Kurt Cobain died. One of my favorite Nirvana tracks. Look at the symbolism. Brave New World. The Naked Ape, that's a book I found. That's going to get into evolution. Try to make the screen clear. Thankful for what we got. I'm trying to make this work here. I'm going to buy myself a better phone for Christmas. I mean, this one's kick-ass Note 9, but I want to get the updated. Anyway, so when we're getting into the symbolism, we're getting into the chakras. So shock, we have shock, like electricity. So I just showed electrical shock. Ra, backwards is R. 1-9 is 1. So get back to that 1 with the R, which is also 9. And that's getting into some deep shit. So that also gets into this album cover right here, because the 9 breaks the 8. It's Earth, Wind, and Fire. What's interesting is they have the orange, which has to do with willpower. Passion is the bottom, which is red. I don't know why they have like that, but the magenta is where the orange is typically. I don't know why they did that, but they have willpower, wheel power. You see the 1. If you look at the number 9, it's kind of like a balloon breaking the 8. So what I'm getting at is the bottom is red. The order of the actual chakras is red. The top of communication with the top 3. This gets into the 3. You have the 1 in the center, which is the heart chakra. And then you have the 3 at the bottom. So 3 at the bottom and 3 at the top. It's also getting into that 6, the triangle, keeping it flowing into the colors. Because my point being, the magenta is typically the top. I say violet, but technically magenta is the top, which is the combination of the blue and red make magenta. The opposite of magenta is not blue or red, however. The opposite contrasting color of magenta is green, which is the heart chakra. So don't look at the colors here. Listen to what I'm saying. Some things seem scrambled. There could be hidden meaning to why these are scrambled on here. So when we talk about the Naked Ape, I got a better microphone. I'm waiting to get set up here. Also talking about the apex. So when we talk about, I used to love Silver Surfer comic book. So Silver Surfer surfing the universe. So think of the apex. The apex is the tip of the wave. That's where the surfer surfs. When you get caught in the undertow, left behind, to use that momentum, you're riding the apex. You could say the apex within. You could say apex. The apex. Now A is 1. It's the first letter, which is also the wand. And if you do the etymology on 0, or do the numerology, Z26, which is 8, E, which is 5, R18, which is 9, 0, 15, which is 6, break those down. That breaks down to 1. It actually breaks down to 10, which is 1, right? So I'm going to get less complicated and more bullet pointy with this presentation. So with that wand is the ripple, which is the rip and the pull. And as we get into abracadabra, which starts with the A, the only word that starts with abra is abrasion, which is to thrash at, or to rip or pull, or in the opposite direction of knit, thrash at. And then we got dabra. Dabra kind of sounds like bread when you mix that up. So we have that breaking bread, body of Christ. What I want to get at is that magenta goes into the crown. That's the crown chakra. So in crown we see now, we see the CR, which can be Christ. C is 3. R is 9. Now, this actually breaks down, own, breaks down to 7. So normally it's 3, 6, 9, but we have a one difference between the 3, 6, 9. We got a 3, 7, 9. Unless there's one direction, there's only one direction that makes that a 3, 6, 9, which is from the right to the left. So from the right to the left. And if you look at the alphabet, LMNOP, that's pond. They're going into the pond. The M and the N is the center of the alphabet, which is the heart. Because the center is the center, like the heart chakra. It's also the color green. So now keep in mind, red and blue make magenta, but the opposite of magenta is green. So let me take it back to the crown. So anyway, 3 and 9 is 12. We'll break down to 3. So own, 3 and own. So 3 now. Now is 3 letters. 1 is 3 letters. 2 is 3 letters. So with 3 is the C. So Moses, which is the M, split the Red Sea. So the color is important too, because red is the bullseye. And in bull, we get the word pull. If we move the lowercase b to around, we can get a P. So we're looking from different perspectives here. This is reading frequencies and patterns. Just as all languages supposedly came from the Rosetta Stone, rose is also 0 when you spell it out. It's also eros, E-R-O-Z, which is the heart. So Rosicrucians with the Rosetta Stone. And we have E.T. in that one too. And you know E.T. has the glowing finger. And finger down. So we're dealing with that A and the B at the beginning. And both the capital letter A and the B are 3 triangles, just like M. But so getting back to these frequencies here, I started off talking about the chakras and the order of the chakras and how I view that here relating to what I see in crown and how that relating to own. And in the word own, we also have one, W-O-N, and we have now. And then we also have crow. Takes us into chronos, and all these other things having to do with time, where we also see now. Maybe it's a little more legible here. So Brandon Lee died in the Crow. It makes me wonder stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Crow backwards is work, but I keep surfing around the Brandon Lee because I always think of Bruce Lee and Enter the Dragon, because the dragon is the symbol of the serpent, and that's gonna get me into all this stuff here. I'm dealing with Santa. So when we look at the word Merry, talk about Merry Christmas, we see that X, which is also the cross, sideways, the Christ. We also see a crease, and the word priest sounds like pressed. So, in the symbolism like the cross, we also see the Ankh. The Ankh is symbolic of the knot. It comes from a place called Tayet, which is also the T. The English language is the last language, which came up much later. So there's combinations of different languages and frequencies. But we see a symbiosis. So we can see correlations like in the Swedish word soul skin, which S-O-L-S-K-I-N, is like darling or my love, something like that. Sunshine, which sounds soul skin. In English, which came later. And talk about memory. Mem is Hebrew for water. And that makes me think about the vibrations of how, like, reading from the left to right or right to left. And I've always wanted to activate my third eye, because the third eye sees around, and I've always been a skateboarder artist. So it's about the bond, the frequencies that bond. And there's a Japanese art where they take gold and they bond broken pots, and it's even more beautiful. So it's the bond, and the bond is also that wand, which is the one, which makes me think of James Bond. And James Bond is 007. And the 00 comes in the owl eyes, and we can also see that in the infinity sign, almost like it's kind of separated. So that gets into the taijutsu and the yin yang. Taijutsu is the original yin yang, which is the circle. And we see what looks kind of like two different C's of red and blue in a one eye. And then the yin yang's a split. So I'm not going to write it out yet, because you can picture it with the S in the middle, the serpent. So we got the Baphomet who splits with his fingers. So that has to do right here in the center, like a puppeteer with the Christ. So I'm going to break this down to abracadabra, because as I'm communicating these frequencies and how they relate to sounds, I'm also going to show some patterns. Dive into that one. Dealing with memory when we're dealing with RAM. She said Mary, dealing with memory. So the three records like Enoch, you could also see 3 knock, because E also resembles a 3, also an M. I'm also going to get into the Triple Crown. Can't pause this because I'm live, so I'm gonna ride it out, baby. This is Christmas. My energy's coming up, and I'm gonna take one brief pause. So I have this album, 2001 Space Odyssey, which came out in 1968, the year before man landed on the moon. Interesting how he saw all that stuff before we got there. Check it, check it. So a lot of symbology. I'm going to break the third. When we say third, sounds like bird. I'm going to play this one pretty soon. J Dilla Donut. So this is getting down to the circle and the square with the 7. And you see that bite out of the donut. That's also symbolic of Kronos. Another 1968. Man landed on the moon in 1969. I got so many records. I don't mean to be jumping around. Well, when I say I got 6 stuff, I want to keep people in the loop. I'm just working on like getting my mic together. So I mean, look at this symbology. All right, check this one. Stevie Wonders are pretty sick because this gets into third eye stuff. Stevie Wonder was blind. He obviously didn't do the artwork. We're dealing with a mountain. All right. Stairway to heaven. With these frequencies. So when we're dealing with notes and tones, when they say sword from the stone, if you scramble the words, it's notes and notes from the tones. So I mentioned earlier how I saw this documentary on Irish music on this island where everything is on 3 syllables. Diddly, doodly, 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 fiddle, you know what I mean? So everything was 3 syllables, and the word syllable is 3. So it's another earth, wind, and fire. So let me keep this going here. When I get my records together, I got some 6 symbolism that I want to break down because I'm really into this. I had fun with this. But when I said about the ape and the apex, it's dealing with evolution, and evolution sounds like revolution. So when we talk about the serpent also sounds like circle bent. And when we look at the yin yang, so we can see the servant in the circle bent because the servant will be the contrast of the black and the white. And then we could see the nail on the cross as the connections, like the nail between the serpent. And check this out. So north also represents center. Thorn, give him a crown of thorns. I started this off with crown because crown relates to the M and the N with the mountain, and we see the symbolism when we connect them. Also with lightning, we see the symbolism with lightning with the light. Let there be light. We see outlet. Put the M in front of the out, we see mouth. And then we see tell. We tell backwards, tell it on the mountain. Intel, intelligence. Gen is like negative. So I want to take a Christmas rip. Hang on one second. I come in waves where I'm up and down. If I had somebody to cycle energy with, I might get my energy is like through the roof with this stuff. So I got cards in the background. I want to get into this. And I see it. I'm having fun with it, like playing cards. Playing with the connections and painting pictures with these connections that make sense. So like the knot, tying and untying. Sometimes I have a hard time remembering what I'm saying. But when I have epiphany, it's so much information at once. Sometimes it connects like lightning. That's why I write down a lot of notes. And I look at tying these notes in as like putting those gold bondages into the plates and making that artwork out of that. Thoughts relate to knots when you get with tying and untying. Just as complicated situations, best way to deal with is simplifying ways of dealing with them. Simple things, it's important to pay attention to details. You reap what you sow. So we're talking about sewing. And the needle is kind of like the ankh, because we're dealing with that tight and loose. So when you're dealing with reap what you sow, you're also dealing with the grim reaper. Down here, my chihuahua's just chilling. So in grim, we see the word merge. We see rim too in there, like mirror. So do kind of like with the edge. And it's interesting in edge in the word j. You got like Jesus and the G. You got peer, like dealing with C. Doing reps in the pool. So we're in a pond. It's like a pond with a ripple effect. So we're all in the same pond, but it's like getting to the apex. So that also has to do with the ape, because the ape is away from the X, so the cross. And this is the Christ. The cross is the Christ, because cross backwards you see source, S-O-R-C. We see that as could be looked at as 2 3s. I mean, I'm getting into this. This is how I see it here. So when we look at the 2 3s, we'll write this E as a mirror image. We see the word level. We see this V in between, the V split. So we see vision. Again, we see shun, like sign, Zion with the C, sign. We see the word Eve. Sam's son took down the 2 pillars. We see 3 3s, because Sam's son took down the pillars in front of the 9 Va. So we see the 9 and the 3 3s. Now keep in mind, M is also 13, which is the wand. So we got this flickering pattern, because we're in a pond. So in wand is also like we're in a pond. We got like the mirror image, Jesus walking on water. And what's interesting about N is the same in both directions. So with N, we also see end, because ends are the same in both directions, right? Ends are the same in both directions. And we can see as 13 and ends as 13 from the opposite directions, because that's what creates the center. That's what makes M the 13 and N the 13 when you do it from opposite directions. If you're doing just from the left, you see 13 and 14. So we see level, which has to do with even, to even. So N sideways is the Z. We know that the first shall be last. So that corresponds with the center as well as the end. So the end is the center and the end of both directions. So we see the sacred number 3 right there. And Z. So this is what I'm getting at here with Z, because we're dealing with future over here and past over here. Future is an illusion, because everything exists now. So the hijacker is Christ, where we see that 7, that fold, right? We see that crease. He's creasing or separating or increasing, decreasing. You know, we got positive. Well, this is what we have here is the future. Sounds like torture or future. However, it's imagination. People dealing with fear. Fear has to do with the future of how people are ruled. Zephyr is a Z. Zephyr sounds like fear. And is the god of the westerly winds, which is the last. The last shall be first. So we're going from the last back to the west, which also could be 1, because 0 equals 1. So when we're talking about that, this gets really deep when I write down the alphabet and the abracadabra. But past is also with a tension. So we're dealing with tension, just like the knot, to tighten and loosen. The word tie equals 7 and untie equals 6. So we see the same patterns as the letter G, both those combined, which equals the 13. And that's also where we'll be dealing with directions. So when you put those 2 together, we see the plus sign. We're dealing with 2 different directions. The shun, abrasion, like I said, we're dealing with 10 shun. And we're dealing with past, with ps for attention, A is the one, that's the wand between the past and the attention. Attention is the same as now, because is right now. That's the only thing now. Words are still catching up, even this. That's also using these symbology I love doing, because maybe people see things that I don't see, or I watch this again and it just lights up more channels. Merge, mirror G. So when we mirror G, we get the positivity. You can see the C here, the C here. The arrows, like love, like the heart, the arrows, E-R-O-Z. We put those together, we see the positive. So that's the 2 7s, and that's where we see the 5, because that's the 14. So with that 5, we get the LU in the number 5, where you get that crease, and you get the circle here, you get that LU. We also see that in the UV and the W, and W equals 5. And W can be written with a crease or without a crease, but U or V has to be U or V. Well, we're dealing with view. We're dealing with vision. With the V, vision. Now with the W, like we're dealing with a pond with ripple effect. We're dealing with a wand, with the one that makes the ripples. So we could deal with wander, wonder. That would be pond, ponder. So this is where I like to pause it, because I got to erase this, but hang on. I'm going to keep rocking. It's Christmas. I'm here with my dog. I want to make use of this time. Is this better with the lights? Yeah, should have done that earlier. Right, cool. This shit gets so fucking deep. So you see how these 2 G's, think of the Gucci symbol? So many things. But you see the positive symbol, how it breaks, it separates, or it's put together, how it emanates. And then we have time, which is the opposite of emit. So emit is to push out. So dealing with this time, we also have like the word timid. So we're dealing with tension. We have the word dim. And we also have mid, like in the middle. And mid has L, mid L, and that L is that wand, the 1, which is also a 3, because L is 12, which is 3, and 1 is O-N-E, which is 3. So with the 1 and the 2, we have want to. So with that want, we also have that W. So getting into the abracadabra, this shit's so deep, because now I'm going to write this out. And in the letter M, you see those 3 triangles. So with Baphomet, three syllables. Sill, we're dealing with window. Window sill. A is the 1. And then bull, which is pull. So in the word window, just keeping it on while I'm hot on this W. And while I'm talking about the Moses, before I get into this whole rewriting it. So when you write it like this, so I'm talking about reflections, like a mirror reflection. When you look at window, you also see open, like open a window. You also see Odin. You say open sesame. Sesame backwards is Moses with an E, which is also that 3. And with that symbol with the E, which is also the 13. So we're dealing with that M, the middle, the window. To your soul, and soul is los in Spanish. So we're dealing with 2 different directions. So that's talking about the Baphomet. So when I'm talking about the Baphomet, so this is the abracadabra. With faux, we get off. So let me spell this out. I'm actually going to read. So window, you see how I got the open frequency, and between them is the open, between these energy frequencies. Open, Odin, the lion's den. It's the lion's den because the line, it could also be looking at it as a line, like a straight line, the lion's den, which is the W, which is the wand. And you wander when you go in the different directions, which is getting into the Baphomet. So the word witch, like the serpent, if you add that front, is switch. If we look at Baphomet, we're dealing with that 3 syllable. This gets into the metaverse and all that crap, but I'm going to keep going where I'm going here. So we got off, talking about the switch, talking about dim and in the middle with the light. We're dealing with time, because I is also that wand too, right? Anyway, we're dealing with time. Damn, this shit gets deep. All right, so let me get into writing this abracadabra. See what I'm saying about time? We're talking about off, and we're dealing with time. Now let me show you in the AB. So this is jumping into the abracadabra. I'm going back to this. Talking about abrasion, because we're talking about open, right? Like a ripple, like Red Bull. We're dealing with ripple. And the bullseye is red. So we're talking about the first part is the bottom chakra, which is shock. We're dealing with a shock, like we see that in a battery. So we're dealing with these ripples. So this has to do with calibration, creation. So in the word crown, not only do we see now and own, we see, damn, I wrote that twice. We CRN. So we see we say oh. They make it sound stupid, like you can't think, man. I always thought don't say dumb. You're fucking dumb. Dumb has in it. Has has all the vowels. Now just like vision, owls have the vision, the dark vision. So we're dealing with that light and the dark. So owls have that vision, and we see vowels. I could get into bowels too, like bowels, like shit, and how Jesus was IHS, and he rose from the cross. And you go backwards, spell that fucking shit backwards, and it's shit. I look at it like, that's funny and stuff, man, but there's really a connection there. There's really a connection there. And that gets into the abracadabra. You're going to see this connection when I write it out. So the owl, you could look at the owl, but you also see lower, like the Elohim, Hym, Hymn. So this is energy. So we see this as low energy, and we see this as wool. Like pull the wool over your eyes, And then we could look at that as a mole who lives underground. A mole is a creature that lives underground that can't see. So we're dealing with vision and how we view things. So we're also dealing with calibration. So I'm going to do this abracadabra. This shit's so freaking deep, man. And it's really deep too when it gets into reality or actuality. Not only for me as a useful tool when I can't find something, or ways of making complicated situations simple and do an order of operation. Yes, I went to the military. Yes, this and that. But it's also third eye, like guidance and getting to the apex. And the apex is your energy center, because we're all this ripple right here till supposedly till we die. It's interesting. Die has I in it, and you have ID in die as well. And ID is identify, identity. We have entity, and we have the letter N. And this, the Adam and Eve shit, the Milky Way is supposed to be where this whole, the first clashes or wars through all ancient whatever scripts, and they reference the stars in the Milky Way. So we talk about simulation, and that has to do with stimulation. And in stimulation, we have time. And when we do a feel, we also have the word leaf. Like we're a leaf until we leave. And leave also has veal, veil. Veal is baby cow, baby calf. And then we also have falc, like falcon, like a falcon. The most majestic animal bird was the falcon. And we have falcon. So we have that up and down like a switch right there. And this also has to do with the eyesight. And to me, the third eye is the secret with the crown. And I'm going to break this down in the abracadabra. No, I haven't been schooled on any of this. This is all just flow. I call it channeling, third eye minds. And I don't have too many subscribers, so thanks for checking this, if whoever's checking it. And I am in the process of putting better stuff down. Check it out. I'm going to make this worth writing down. So in the abracadabra, here we see the word death. Till we get to the letter G. We know this G is used for a lot of stuff, and how I was using it for these arrows. We know that G is the seventh letter, and seventh is kind of that crease. And we're dealing with that, the 90-degree angle or whatever. So with the Fed, keep in mind how I was showing the serpent eating its tail, and how BAC can also be looked at back. So we're also talking about back to the future, how I was talking about future, and that's how Christ is used at the center of our timeline. I'm going to go into these deck of cards too. I'm going to utilize this time. The way of writing, to make sense of this, the third eye writes this in the way that connects. So if there's a way of writing the I or the J that doesn't connect, I don't make the connection. So I write it in the ways that makes it connect. So I write the L in a lowercase l, because that can also be viewed as an I when we get into the omni and the owl. at the center. And then you see the number 10, which is dealing with that X, because we're dealing with Roman numerals, which is also the cross. Go to this side, to the right. Here we got the L. The L is on the left, and here is on the right. What's interesting is that's the wand, right? So when we put the wand to the R, we get light. Man, I hope I get to some more people. Thank you for checking anyway. Elemental, we get to illuminate and all that. Lumens. We get into now as well, because when we flip the M over, we get the W right in the center. And now the only thing that separates, I'll keep in mind, if we want to keep this like geometric or whatever, that's also the Adam's rib that goes to the end. But that isn't what I was saying. To keep it geometric, now we have one and now and one. It's almost like an 11, which equals 2, which has to do with movement. And we have that positive and negative. And pause it, I have to pause. But I want to keep going with this shit. And keep it in the abracadabra zone. But PO going in this direction, going towards the center now. PO is positive. We're going in this direction. We got OD, which is odd with that 1, because it breaks at the 7. The 7 breaks. Like I showed 2 7s break the positive. So this is going to also get me into the Baphomet, back into that. If I have time, let's see. We got abracadabra. I'm keep going here. This shit gets fucking deep. So we also got the word pond. Like I said, ripples in the pond. And wonder. Now it's also a W. P-O-N-D. Then we also have Jesus has the world in the palm of his hands. The palm of his hand. We got palm readers. Mop, cleaning. So in the word Ankh, we also have can and cannot, because Ankh also means not. So that's the hidden not, because we see can scramble the words, not Ankh. It says can, also means not, can and cannot. Both N-O-P-Q-R-S-T, we have Christ. So right there from the pond, we have Christ. And then they have people get baptized. So Bap is Baphomet is in baptized. You can also see that as B-A-P, and then you could also see D-A-D, and then you just look at the different ways, scrambles of writing that. Baptized. And Pope Gregory made Jesus the center of time. They split the timeline from 360 days to from 365 to scrambling. Originally it was on the moon, a complete circle. So the circle bent is the serpent. And you also have the servant. Yeah, circulate, ventilate, we do a breathing. Recognize where that wand in the pond making ripples, and it's like having fun in the pond, because we're dealing with a heart, we're dealing with heartache. Life is full of heartache. There's evil, live evil, but it's all different ripples in the pond, and it's about getting to our apex. So we're dealing with different frequencies. There's the ape. The ape doesn't have the X. I can see exhale in it too. Exhale. I see that shit, because a lot of the toxins leave the body. So Christ, P-R-S-T-U-V. So dealing with a UV, that's the light you can't see. And then we have the circle and the bent. And we also have the L and the U, because if you use your third eye, the V is also a U. And we also have the word view, because view backwards is VU, because remember, we're going in this direction now from the right, Christ in the pond, view Christ. And then you have W, which we're dealing with double views because we're dealing with reflections. And W can be written in both ways. So we're dealing with double view, two ways of seeing. I'll have to get back to the Baphomet. Baphomet is the 3 syllables as well. And I'm going to get back into talking about that Samson and Delilah with the M. C level. C is 3, and you think of sea level. So not only do you sea level, you think about sea level. And that's also, that would be the wand at the bottom or whatever, the grounding frequency. That's how I see it. So anyway, what I'm talking about is Delilah. So Samson had 7 locks of hair and Delilah cut it off. So you see the 7 colors, and we're getting back into frequencies. We're going back into colors. So Delilah, we also see the word idea. So when you write out Delilah, you see IDEAH. And so we have that pause symbol. It could also be the abracadabras for adepts. If you're watching this, you're adept. I mean, you don't know it, man. We're passing the torch back and forth. This is just getting started for me, Rena G. Merry Christmas. This is Beaner, my dog down here. So get into that apex. So Delilah, we see idea. Fuck. Hate. Hades. Shade. Dealing with shade. Okay, back to the alphabet. Let me finish writing that out. I think I wanted to touch on the Delilah part, and then I didn't finish. So Delilah, Merry Christmas, la 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 la, getting into the 3 syllables. So with the ones and the twos, we also have the tone when you combine those 2 words. And then you also have want to. So leaving Eden has the word need. So, okay, keep going. L, N, O, P, Q, T, U, V, W, X, and Y. We got the chromosomes. And then Z. So Zorro had one eye. We see that in the Omni. You also see the 2 sevens. Okay, so this gets into the Baphomet. So the sleep, going to sleep. Beauty and the Beast. Talking about ape, the beast, and the beauty, the separation. For awaken, Z, there's 3 Z's for sleep, which are 7 separating. We see the rib, Adam's rib in the middle. And then we see the word back is 3 letters going back. Catching a cab. 1, 2, 3, easy as ABCs. So in the word deaf, like I said, we also have the word fed, but this is what I'm getting at. So P is also the 7th letter because O is 15, P is 16. So 16 equals 7. So we see the separation right there. Remember how the positive splits like this? And I'm doing this without even getting into other pictures because I'm going to do this when I can pause my screen and stuff because I want to really shine on some shit. And I said I was going to talk about some cards here. So you see the splitting of the 7s with the G, right? See how the G? We're also dealing with energy, and energy, if you write it like it's spelled NRG. So look, you can't see it balance out like if I was writing the alphabet like this, but the sevens are equal distance from the LMNO. So you got a 7 before the LMNO, and you got a 7 after the LMNO. So we have that, dealing with the directions, and then we have the G's, the separating G's right in the center when I cross that, or do the two C's when I do the M splitting the two C's with the Moses. And then we have the nail through the cross. Different ways of looking at that. Going on for about an hour here. Anyway, it's Christmas. I can't go forever. Feel free to message me if there's anything you want me to get into. I'm all about third eye stuff. I'm interested in dealing with these ripples, also with patterning, like actually real time stuff, like thoughts are like knots, and how do you have premonitions, and it doesn't happen all the time, and it's just the weird, and we're dealing with ironies. But here, when we get into directions and the serpent, how the south surrounds, so the south surrounds that's how south would surround. Now S is the 19th letter, which equals 1. So we see also that wand. We also see the money symbol. We see that bond or that separation. So I was talking about James Bond. James Bond is the 007s. So we see the 00, and the 7s are what separate or what bond with that plus. Or these 7. So getting into that, so there's the 3 3s. So it's really with directions, it's 3 3s, and then we have the C. We have the C. Moses split the C. But we're also dealing with that square because we're dealing with the 4. So we're dealing with they say squaring the circle, circling the square, if I'm saying that right. But the serpent is what climbed up the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, or is the tree of life. So in the middle, the serpent would have to do with the Z, and that would be more the N, because that's the N is the Z. You know, think of energy. So this has to do with calibration and direction. And man, I wish I had some more people on this. Not that I appreciate whoever's watching it, but I like the call and stuff to build with people because I'm kind of tired. And I look forward to digging more into it. I'm doing it right now, actually. So dealing with wheel power is also dealing with that W. So we're dealing with spoke, like the spoke, the sound on the mountain. Dealing with the 3 triangles this way or that way. So the spoke on the mountain is also the wheel. And then we also see pokes. You see that 1, like that omni or the owl. In the spoke, we also see pokes. So we see the wheel and we see the pokes in the same word. So if we rearrange the word pokes, we see spoke. It's a single. Anyway, it's a wheel, dealing with a wheel. Pokes. So we're dealing with attention too. Tension is dealing with attention. It's 1. And we say wonder, dur is red. Red is dealing with passion. Surrender is sir, serpent, or whatever. End red. Hatred, hat red. Dealing with vibration. Enough freestyling right now. I'm kind of tired, so we'll dig into some notes. When we're dealing with vibration and frequencies, so when we're dealing with Sermon on the Mountain, Sodom and Gomorrah, Samson and Delilah, Alpha and Omega, the la 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 la. We're going 6 syllables. So we're going in 3 in one direction and 3 in the other directions. See the east and the west going from the north. So when you get all the way to the east is the Z, which is the fear, which is the westerly wind. Dealing with fear. You know, do you have your wreath up for Christmas? So I'm going to keep this going. I don't want to lose steam here. I probably want to make some steamed vegetables or something. Probably thinking in my background. So, you know, Tesla talked about the 369, the Trinity. 369 is also 3 syllables. In Trinity, we also see trim a tree. Geometry. Amma had her arms together like this, right? Her arms together, where Baphomet has one up and one down. And there you see the 2 sevens. You see the resemblance of the separation from Amma's arms. We see north, thorn. And we see Thor. And Thor has to do with electricity. So when we talk about those Z's, we talk about the 3s, how can be an E and M electromagnetic. E and M makes the sound of M as well. And you get and you know, when something's good, you go or whatever. That's like an artificial sound because I'm just making that up, but you know what I mean? But the thing about you know, reap what you sow, and we're dealing with O. When you add the T, it's 2 or toe. When we're dealing with movement, watt. We're dealing with electricity. So it's talking about Thor with the lightning. We got that 3 Z's and that lightning with the thorn. So that takes me back to the beginning, crown of thorns. And with the G, devil. The devil card in tarot, which I believe is what my card is. It's 15. It's interesting the devil card equals 6, but if you write devil, it has the Roman numeral 6 in it. It equals 7. It's 5 letters. So you see 369 right there, but check it out. Okay, I'm going to keep going. So with spelling bee, we know that a spell means elf on the shelf. Elf is on the shelf. We're dealing with left. Left is to leave. Get. Remember target. If you're talking about a target, like I'm talking about ripples, the target. So we're talking about get with that G, dealing with that arrow. And then we're dealing with that ET, what they make us believe in aliens. An alien is also a lien. Like a lien on a house, right? So we're dealing with that O, what you owe, that O, which is also that And we're also dealing with tomorrow has to do with your blood. You could look at your bone marrow, dealing with your blood. This has to do with a lot. Kneel fucking down. Kneel down and fucking worship. A lien you fucking owe tomorrow. So what I'm getting at here, damn, I don't want to lose sight of the word target. We have get. So get, to get. So we're going to get. ET is 5-2, which is 7. Just like that G, right? So we see the 7. Now think of the Baphomet with the 2 7s as the 2 directions. We got the glowing finger in ET. ET has one finger that's glowing. Fuck, it's half-assed artwork. You see what I mean? That's like the Baphomet. Show them there. Anyway, legs crossed. Never lose thought, never lose fight, dealing with focus. Hocus pocus. Ophiuchus is the 13th sign. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, that has to do with Nostradamus. Nostradamus had his own occult zodiac, and they say that represents Jesus Christ. And JC, Jim Carrey, I'm repeating what I said in my last recording because I'm going to polish this out until I get all this together here without skipping a beat. 23, which is also that 5. But JC, I want to get into showing some pictures and stuff that I've collected with symbols, because it gets into, it's going to open up a lot of shit. Dealing with Midas, we're talking about ET with the glowing finger. So we have the word dim. The word dim is in Midas. But we also have Midas turns things to gold with its touch. Now check this out. This is what I feel that life is about, man. I have a lot of things speaking to me, and I forgot what I was going to write before, but it'll come. But when you look at the word form and function, everything has to do with form and function. So form is for M and fun. Future and we also have a shun, Zion. And so when we look at Zion, that's also noise. So we're dealing with frequencies and vibrations. We're talking about noise, but it also relates to visual shit. Because you could write function like that. The best music to dance to, probably funk. I mean, I would get in different moods, but funk is like the ultimate, like I think, go-to. But you got the M in the end. You got that 6-3. Anyway, the path is narrow. I'm going to get into a lot of symbology. And I'm going to break into some books I haven't really gotten into yet. Psychopictography. So we're talking about rib. It's in like the word rid, like to get rid of. When you flip B the opposite direction. So this is what I forgot, man. It's funny how the subconscious works. It's not in my notes. But just doing that to untie my brain brought it back. That's another reason I like the psycho energy, because when it gets into the lane like skateboarding and shit, I like to do people to do shit with. It gets me going, man. Pumps me up, man. So ride, bride, and when we deal with spelling bee, so I was going into the 1, 2, 3. So spelling bee is 3 syllables. Spell in bee. Now you can look at B is spelled B, to be or not to be. or it's spelled like a B. So when we're dealing with the future, that has to do with belief. Belief. And the leaves from the tree, how they go out on the branches. I was seeing the calf as the falcon. When I was looking at leaf is veil, because veil. We're dealing with visions, what leaves, like what appears and disappears. Ben is dealing with the past when we had that end for the feet. Fuck, what you been doing? So all that presents is the past. But anyway, damn, this shit gets so when we're dealing with ring and rung, with vibrations, like dealing with these patterns and stuff like that, because we're talking about how to get to the apex of the wave and go back. Sometimes I'm kind of going back and forth because I know I'm going here with the apex. So when you talk about ring and rung, these are these vibrations we're riding. And like the Holy Ghost or whatever, I don't know, is it the Holy Ghost or whole ghost is like gust. So gust is wind. So I feel like we're dealing with different directions of gust and wind with the future. Because future is also few sure. Like the road is narrow, the path is narrow, like few are sure. So it's just like when you do something, there's only experts know how to slow down fucking time. And this could be like if you're a basketball player or something like that, or you got cameras flashing, or fucking I relate to martial arts, whatever, like fan right now could be just not in my zone right here fucking around. But like when you get into the zone, whatever it is, it's just like a fucking instinct. It's faster than you can think. It is before it's done. And that's the way it's executed, which is that cross, dealing with that apex executed. You get electrocuted. I got to get into that one, but I see disc. Fuck. You got disc and disgust. So we're dealing with those discs, those chakra discs. We're dealing with dice. So I'll get into these cards. We're dealing with dice, we're dealing with disc, and we're dealing with discuss. We're like spoke. We're dealing with movement, and we're dealing with willpower, what you discuss. Even self-disgust. Self-disgust could be self-disgust. But you could also be a gust, because it's a gust of wind. It has to do with how you adjust your sails. And your sails could be your cells. You could look at that as cell, yourself. If you loosen up, you know, F is the 6. But sails. Cell could also be, so cells is like your body, your cell, which could accelerate, like exhale, but accelerate. Or you also see less. So if you say cell, like the word cell, you could also see less in your cells. So we're dealing with energy and cells like a battery, because your cells can go positive and negative, and we know that our cells have a domino effect. So it's like when we get into healing or whatever, longest I fast is 5 days, but I've been a vegan for about 2 years, avoiding soy and man-made foods and things like that. And it has to do with what's photovoltaic. Now I'm getting into like my notebook study stuff, because my freestyle and stuff, I like to do this more when I get on my platform, because I think I've connected a lot of dots here. And everything else is going to be digging into my notes, pulling up shit. But I know I could do this randomly and come up with stuff. So when we look at like the XYZ, it's exactly what I'm doing. But like I said, I could pull up shit randomly and just keep this going probably because I got so many fucking notes. When we say wave goodbye, Yahweh is yes way. We're dealing with an S and that Y. So why? Why do you do this? Why is a question, and quest is your direction. So in waves, we also have weaves, getting back into that reap what you sow and riding these waves. So that has to do with the apex. Why would they tell us they came from fucking apes? So I called the Bro Sanchez show and I taught the O negative blood type. I'm like, I read this book, Eat Right for Your Blood Type. I'm the oldest blood type. I should be eating meat and blah, blah, blah. But I knew I've always felt I used to be a vegetarian and I went back and I'm in shape. In shape. Like, I'm in shape. I'm in like wicked shape. I'm in wicked shape. And I like don't need to eat a lot. Like, I don't eat that much. So anyway, it's about getting that electrical going. Currents. Currency. Dealing with Moses splitting the sea and all that shit. I don't want to get too repetitive because this gets pretty cool. So Mary, dealing with that ram. So when we hear the word war, warlock, the M is a W. So we're dealing with the word clock. 2, 3, 3 lock. 3 lock. So there's 3 hands on a clock. We got hours, we got minutes, we got seconds. So that's going with that 3. But just, I don't know if this has to do with the past, present, and future. This is good. We're talking about presents. Let this be like a Christmas broadcast, whatever. TikTok has to do with talking, like that spoke. And IC is in tick. So positive or whatever, IC. So you got looking and talking. Hang on. Tic-tac-toe. So I got to look at the symbols. You're dealing with the X's and the O's. Ox. The symbol of the ox is the X and the O. There's a lot of different ways of looking at this. We're dealing with the lock. So we're dealing with the lock. So this relates to the time. So I see the mastering the time. I see this as mastering the energy. And what we're fed sandwiches. We're fed and deaf to the left. But when we put that wand from the L to the right, we get the light. And it's interesting, we're dealing with it dim. Lightning comes out of the dark. So this has to do with calibration. So when we look at the ace symbol, I don't have to rewrite this because I wrote it here. Ace hardware. We see the cup. We deal with our energy like the chakras. So we're dealing with that pond. When we're going to the center of the alphabet from the right side, we see the going backwards, P-O-N, pond. We also see towel. And whatever I wrote there, I wrote 2 7s. Might have to get back on that one. But we see the 7 at the top of the cross and the P. So in that symbology with the cross and the P at the top and occult symbolism, it's interesting. 7th letter. So it's just encryption. So these are things to look into. Event 201, Agenda 21. Event 201 is before this whole shit that's going on. It's a pandemic. When there was a planned event in New York City, if you Google it, you'll find real-time newspaper ads. So we're dealing with that 3. And when this whole George Floyd thing happened, they used this guy holding his hands together, almost like a Baphomet shit, by the trash can. Remember how shit Jesus, IHS, is towards the center. Anyway, we have that 6. Remember I'm talking about the 6 and the 7? So the 6 is on that trash can. They have that 6. Anyway, the separation is the 3s in the 2 direction, because the 3s are the seas. Moses split the seas. So there's this symbology there where we see the 6, and we see it in the Disney sign with the Sphinx untying and tying. So this has to do maybe with in owls, they have the cremation of care ceremony. And if you say owl eyes, we have allies. And if you look at both sides, there could be seen as owl eyes. You see the shit when you're using your third eye, whatever. Bird's eye. So Event 201, Agenda 21, 9/11 to 2001. I guess the 2001 there. Anyway, I'm too tired to do the math. I wrote that one down. So we get the 2 and the 1. So I'm just getting into irony for entertainment purposes. People could use their own brain. So check this. When I get into level, we get to the AM and the FM radio, because I'm talking about frequencies. So that also deals with the Father, Son, the Son, Father, and Holy Ghost would be 369. But we're also dealing, Father will be the splitter. We could also see further. Gnostics, the Gnostics, Holy Ghost. Holograms. Damn, that took me into a whole nother level of seeing about other shit. So with that 3, the lamb laying down, the lamb with a lion, just how I showed that L can be the I. So we say I am can also be the lamb. And they try to make you think that you're bad, right? They try to make you think I am mal in Spanish. Which you see that, okay, maybe you have to reach a little bit to see it, but damn, is that subconscious or what? Because you could see that without seeing it. Because my third eye sees that shit. So I am bad. I am, which is also mal, and we see animal. So when we see naked and ape, right? I haven't even read this book, but then it gets me into this other shit, like dealing with what you see in like Animal Farm. And all these cats were part of these secret societies. And when you get into what's going on now, it makes you question a lot of things. So I want to keep, I don't want my channel to get censored by anything stupid, but I'm going to keep turning on some light bulbs here. Bicycle, 3 syllables. In deck of cards, keeping it with the abracadabra. So I know I got so much more to, because I could go on with this, but we're dealing with 26 letters, which equals 8. So when we say the word separate, sep is 7. So you see how this 2 7s together make the cross when they're bonded, 007. So separate the 9. It's the most high HI equals, but hang on, that's what I'm saying. So the 2 thieves, Jesus died between the 2 thieves. P is going positive. QRST. You know that. So you have the 2 jokers in every deck of cards. So the 2 jokers are these 2 eyes. So when we look at the yin yang split, that's the nail between the cross. Cross is the Christ, dealing with the crease. When we say minister, we say to add minister, like positive. Minister. This is adding rims or vibrations or frequencies. It has to do with governing frequencies because it has to do with the G and the governing. Over, hover. See the G and the H together. It's a ghost. H is quiet. Hovering, governing frequencies. Man is manipulating. Third eye is cutting through the matrix. Those are the jokers. So the 2 thieves. Which is really 1, which is really the wand. So the 2 thieves are really 1. Just as 2 and 3 is really 1. Just as how you have that 1 triangle and you have that hidden triangle. One will be light, one will be dark. 2, 1. I don't know if I'm saying that right. That's the nail. That's the nail for the cross. That's the two thieves separated. So that's the 1 becomes the 2. So maybe that's why 1 and 2 are both spelled with 3 letters. The 1 becomes the 2. 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. So the 1 becomes the 2. So the nail that changes the dimension, because then you're looking at a two dimension, because that is the nail. This is the end of the nail. The N, which is the Z, which is sleep at the end. And we got the middle, and idle is the bond. Idle. Something like that. Cycle. So I'd like to see some artwork in the 3D patterns, but you could see that changing dimensions. And it could have to get into subconscious. We know we're dealing with different levels. And as we do with the M with the levels, 33 also equals F. So we see FM. And they say everybody can be a Mason, which is MA. We're dealing with 2 different directions. When we go on both sides, we're doing different directions to the middle, right? So AM is Lucifer, the morning star. From the east, which is the 3. I have to revisit that one, but the A at the bottom, just like the radio frequencies, you probably have like 1 or 2 channels on AM, but you probably got a bunch of FM stations. You definitely get the higher channel frequency through FM than AM. Radio, which actually equals the 6. So that's the untying is the 6. FM is the 6-4, which is the 1, which is the wand. 6 and 1 together equals the 7, which is the bond. That's where we get into the James Bond, the 007s. And we see the fish fin. So when we see the to play, it's like the fish fin. Finish end. That's not what I was saying with fish fin. Oh, I really want to keep this together because I got a lot of notes that are kind of scattered, but when we get into scene, oh man, this is great because I don't want to miss some of this shit. I know I'm missing a lot of stuff that is so fucking sick. But like when I was talking about that 5 with the 7 and the 7 with seen and unseen, when we're dealing with that bond. So we look at the 2 C's, like Moses split the 2 C's. We look at those 2 C's. Now keep in mind an S is a C this way, an S is a C that way. W, double view. I'm going to get into that. But we also see, check it, in the word 7. Seven C's. We have 7 C's. We have seen. So which is, we're still doing with the past. You know, it's obscene as odd scene, interesting. But we have the V, the Adam and Eve, but we're dealing with the vision, which is the noise. Because the Jean is noise. ES is S. If we look at it this way, we could look at that as like size. And that makes sense why the S and the Z is also for Zion. You could spell Zion, Z-I-O-N, S-Z-I-O-N. And then we say science. And then science is spelled with a C. You know, I could be reaching there. I see a connection. We see on and is on in the word noise. So we're dealing with that on and off switch too. I know I'm all over the place here too, but damn. Go check out that one. Talking about miracles. Talking about cells. We're talking about mirror. You get the word oracle. So IHS, talking about Jesus. Holy shit. Born from a virgin. And the word virgin, we see RIV, which is like river. We also see verb and virgin. So if you look at virgin, need a new marker. As long as I got juice, I'll keep going. So the 2 jokers, the 5-4 is also that flicker pattern between the M and the N. I got a whole thing on that. Well, that's, and then we got the 7. So we got the 2 jokers, right? Together that equals 7. Anyways, the 2 jokers are the eyes that rise. 9 and 7 is 16, which equals 7. So we got that bond. But the escape from the 8 is the 9. I hope I said that right, because that's the 2 jokers, because you got the I and the J. We got those 2 I's. So the 9 has the I up high. 9 and 7 is 16, which is 7. So we see the wand right there. So my point is that's the rib, the 1. So we got that untie. But it's interesting, the 1 and the 6 equals 7. So that's the two I's, the 7 and the 6. So we see that correlation with the two G's or the two 7s, so which is the G and the P. We can I kind of see lop like loop, but you know that's kind of a reach there. So with the river, let me touch on this a couple more points. We get verb. So we're talking about movement. So verb, we're talking about frequencies, talking, syllables. So mirror, you get rim. We're dealing with the ripple effects. So Adam and Eve is also in verb. We look at river, or moving river. Reverse, to reverse, dealing with directions. Verse. So we're reversing this whole thing. So when you look at Samson, like I was saying, Samson and level. So they say mansion in the sky, just add an N to that. Samson. The G is quiet. We think of the Samsung phone, Samsung. Now the difference between song and sung is ring and rung. So when I talk about the spelling bee, to be the ring is to bring, to be the ring. See these connections? So Samsung is just like the all that presents as the past, but we're dealing with that with the split. With that split, we're dealing with the dimensions where the one becomes the two. So just like the Holy Ghost, we got the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. The Holy Ghost is the one because the one becomes the two, the Father and Son. The one is the Holy Ghost, which is the bond. That's the way that I see that. And we also have like the word goes, how it goes. It's how I see it, goes, and we have goes, like goes, and we have the positive symbol that goes positive, like that moving. So sung. So we're dealing with all that present and past, like see and saw. But check it. Am song. So that has to do with how we get to our apex. And when we look at the word red, I'm gonna leave this getting into chakras. I don't know who's tuning in right now. I see I got one person there. Thanks, man. That's the one. That's the one that's setting up this ripple effect. Thank you, man. Woman, God, goddess, may your gods or goddesses be with you. You know, Bible, we're dealing with those two poles with the Bibles. And purple, we're doing how everything is kind of purple. So remember, this has to do with calibration, and it has to do with that. So I use certain metaphors. And metaphors, we're dealing with force. We're dealing with a metaphor. Force. Atom is a meta. You hold the one, brother. Fuck. You probably give it away when you join that shit. Me plus A, which is 1. Damn. Metaverse. So a verb is a verse. To add a verse, adverse, adversity is going against the verse. You're the verse. Reverse, disperse, verse. I think verse splits. I don't see verse binding. Well, 7s do. Maybe it's ventilate. The word that comes before iris, V before iris. V before act in the word seen. V before the word act in seen. V before the word iris. The word stage is also the word gates. Makes you think of Bill Gates. Fucking crazy. So if we talk about a simulation, we have that plus is stimulation. And what's that plus? It's that ripple. And like I see meta, I see me plus one. As that the wand. Damn. I see damn as wand too. Because every time I'm fucking like, damn. You can get mad or you could be like, damn. And a dam is building a wall. You're dealing with pressure. It's like pause it. Being positive, pause it, I have. It's like you're building those dams and channeling that energy. Like if you're mad, you could use that to get the fuck up and create difference. We're doing creation and calibration. Self-destruction was when it doesn't have that pathway and like the dams break or whatever. Then we're dealing with cellular destruction. Another way of looking at that. And another way is max and min. With the AI, alpha, yin yang. This makes me think about the meta. A-Team. Man, we used to watch the show The A-Team growing up. That was our shit. The A-Team. The A-Team with fucking Mr. T. Fuck, with Mr. T. Are you shitting me? And it's also rib is rid. Like to get rid, depending on which direction. Burr, if it's cold. Kalt in German. Kalt. My mom speaks German. Kalt. C-A, or it might be K-A-L-D is kalt is German. Like black. Which is also black when you scramble the words in English. And then if you scramble the words, it's also cards, how you play your fucking cards in the dark. You don't show anybody your cards. Don't show anybody your cards. So I'm not monetized public. This is like, I don't know who's tuning in, but big ups, man, because I'm putting down some shit. I know I'm on something, man. For the right people. So it's like we're all ripples of the same pond. And it's like this thing, we only see our connection when we look at the iris in another's eyes, the black iris. Talking about in the dark and how we play our cards. And that could also be symbolic of bark on a tree with a virus, not virus, with the spiral. I got other shit I want to talk about in the back of my head. The reason I'm home alone today, because I believe in holistics and I'm so fucking healthy. I can't, like, you can't tell me nothing, like, for real, like. Anyway, from what I know, because the whole belief system, belief on experts is almost like giving up that X from your apex. You're being an ape following the X, which is the puppet leader. The X is the cross between the two crosses. And it's interesting, like a rifle sight's kind of like that too, but you can look at a whole lot of shit. Insight, out of sight, third eye sight. Fute, you could have the word refute. We have refuse, which is suffer. It's thought, dealing with that T. And tension, ghost is like Casper, the friendly ghost. You're lured in, which is also the lure. When you look at the 5, it's a lure, which is that L-U, which is that lure, lures in the fish. Jesus is right here, and Jesus fished, the fisher of men. You know, fisher is the cat, which is act. And when we look at it, I'm going to get a little deep. When we look at the word Sphinx, we see spin. We see pH as a, dealing with fire and hocus pocus, which has to do with creation. And we're dealing with ink, which has to do with blood. which is red. Then you can see the similarity in blink, as in believe. Like blink, close your fucking eyes and believe. And if you open your third eye, how I'm saying that. Damn. I'm gonna get into Nike and Michael with the Archangel thing, because I'm gonna do a separate stream straight on symbology where I can pause and screen share, because I got some sick shit that will blow. People will probably get lost in the sauce. But we're tying it in. It just connects all the shit. And I'm interested in who else sees it, and if I'm turning on some light bulbs, man, give me some feedback. In the Sphinx, we have the fish fin like Jesus. The serpent is Jesus. The Jesus fin, the S, is the serpent fin on the cross. Notice the cross is sideways and all the symbology of Jesus carrying the cross. So we also have the word spin, because, H can be silent. And we also have 6. Which if you look at 6, it's a spinning. Then you look at the direction it's spinning in the direction of clockwise. It's spinning in. 6 is actually spinning in this direction. When you look at 9 can be written in both ways. 9 can be written like this, or 9 can be written with a rib. Oh fuck. But I wrote down something that was so crazy. And it relates to symbology, the occult symbology. Give me a minute. So cat, we're dealing with act. The Sphinx is a cat, act, and we're also dealing with tic-tac-toe. So when tic-tac-toe, tick, it has to do with what do you see, tac has to do with how you act, and toe has to be with what you toe along, or watt. It has to do with your energy, W-O-T, like Watson, Sherlock Holmes. But we look at toe. It also has to do with push and pull. So we're doing the 2 bulls. So 2 bull cane in the Bible, and it's the Freemasonic shit. It's 2 bulls with a cane. So the cane is Ankh. You could look at cane as Ankh. A-I-N-C, Ankh. 2 bull cane. 2 bulls and a cane. So tic-tac. I see, I act, I owe. So I see, I act, I owe. All these pluses has to do with how movement forward or whatever. So we got I see, act, because the cat acts. The cat in the hat. The fucking cat in the hat. And I owe. Time. Oh, man. And then you look at the Mothman prophecies. Moth goes toward light. The H can also be quiet. The H is also the level, up and down. The level. So serpent on the cross, doing with that whole how things emanate. We see the 2 birds and all the symbology moving up. And the flower life, all stuff. Anyway, fuck. So when someone's hypnotized, you see their eyes spin. So this is the future, the toe. Or how people are controlled with regret. So over to the left, the L is on the opposite side of right, and we get light when we switch it over. Target. So we always have a target. Fuck. I don't want to lose what I'm thinking. G. If I watch this again, I'll remember and put it in my next one. I know I'll remember. That's how my mind works. A little spark set up like lightning. It's, man, fuck. With the Tubal Cain. I forgot what the last thing I was saying. But Jesus is Chi and Zeus. You know, I see that as Chi as in Zeus with the lightning, because Chi is like that electricity. And with I forgot the word I was looking for, because there's a specific word. Getting, need. 1, 2, 1, 2. So when we left Eden, need. Fuck, it was a word relating to that. I forgot what it was, man. This shit was deep. So hocus pocus and focus is dealing with the 6 and the 7 as well, because 7 and 8 is 15, which is 6. So this is dealing with separating, pulling together. I'm sorry. 7 and 8 is 15, which is 6. And F is 6. They're both 6. So both dealing with untying, but they're both same sound. You can see the correlation. Focus. It's interesting. pH balance is 7. So the center of pH balance is just fucking with your. The center is 7 for pH balance. And then when you go to the right, you get 7.1, 7.2. When you go to the left, you don't get a balance. You don't get 7, -1, 7. You get 6.9, 6.8. That's how the pH works with 7 at the. So there's one off kilter in the seesaw. So this is the word I was thinking, kilter. Thank you. Get. I would have been pissed if I didn't remember that. We look at get, like in Target. We also look at guilt. So we're looking at that wand, the one. So with these different frequencies of energy, and guilt is used in the past when we're dealing with regret. And we're talking about regret, R-E-T. Get, you have get and regret. R is the vibration too. Like that L. L and R, left and right. A lot of times L and R are mixed up together because we're dealing with different sides. It's also 3 and 9. So they're correlated with a 3, 6, 9, but they're left and right. So get. So, you know, like Asians say L's like R's or vice versa. I don't know enough about other languages that I like to learn because it's fascinating. They're beautiful, man. I love like Arabic languages. All the, you know, it's fascinating. So, and I'm interested in if other people see this in English, got their third eye open, see these different correlations. I could break into comic books. I can break into other stuff. But I'm in the middle of moving, so I got all these notes. So I'm like, man, I got to put some stuff down. And when you're dealing with tomorrow, you're dealing with 2 and move. And tomorrow is never here. Here is ear, the H in ear. It's funny, there is a plus in front of the H. So these are just quick correlations I'm going to dive into. The form and function was a big one because that's like when we talk about tuning in. Oh, fuck. When we talk about tuning in, for the ripple effect, what's the purpose? It's kind of like, man, we got to find our purpose. And for function, it's like having fun in the pond. Life is full of heartache. Fuck, did I forget what I was going to write already? Yeah, I'm going to have to take a break. For, damn, bro. Form and function. this had to do with time. Hang on. They use the eagle and the symbol. G is the silent letter. Let me surf through this while I'm thinking. Eel is electricity. I want to get into different directions here that go in there. I'm saying, so how everything comes from the cube, it's like the sword from the stone, the words from the tones. And the cube could also be looking at how I wrote that down with the W as that one, as that wand. We're also looking at the needle, which is need and L. And I was getting into the Garden of Eden, which is also needing the N. So V is what splits. And we say the needle. Does that mean need love? We talk about love, we're talking about volume. We're talking about that again with that energy. It's not in my notes. These are things that are hitting me. I don't know if I can use these notes here. When I break into these, some of these are like my planners and stuff I'm getting into. When I'm talking about composites, like composite, I have form, function, okay, I can't pause it right now, so I probably won't go through my notes, but I'm still thinking of what I was thinking of, man. If it hits me, it'll be great. Oh, yeah. Let me end on this before I fade out, because I'm about to hit close to the 2 hours. So red, at the beginning, when we're talking about red, so we see the note for noise in volume, how we have scion and noise. So when we look at the rim, miracles is the rim. So we're dealing with passion, we're dealing with repulsion. So that comes from the red, just like a fire. Your spark, that's a shitty one. Like your sparks come from fire. Red chakra. Where it comes from. So even though your crown chakra is your magenta, it contains the red. So some red is the one that goes to all the chakras. So although all the chakras might be stained with red, the other chakras do not stain the red. The red goes through the other chakras. And then they come down stained with the other colors. What on the red is the way the red is the rib. So red is the rib. And then also in red, we also have past, because then you have read. So we're doing all that presents as the past. Vibration. We have read a book. And we know in the book is like this, like the letter M. It embodies empathy. When you're dealing with a dove that represents love or love, we see the V right here, the dove, empathy. Read is also to play an instrument, a reed instrument. So we're doing past, present, all that presents is the past and the future. Gets into some deep shit. But in the future, we also have root. right? Rute 63 9 route. So the high route, the high road. You take the high road and I'll take the low road. All deer. Stag. Stag is a deer to stagnate, to play an instrument, or to stagnate, which means not move. But stag is also like the biggest deer, which is in Reed. So if you're checking what I'm throwing down, and then we also have evolve, which is energy, volume. Vacuum. It's interesting. Vacuum. We also have cave. Um. Captain Caveman is also like capped. Like the fucking pyramid is capped. Like a captain, which is sleep. Just sleep. Captain Crunch. Captain Caveman. Captain, like your captain. So a cell can be less, or exhale. Cell could also accelerate. So it's just like the ape and the apex. And like I said in like the old Point Break movie, not the new one, man, when they surf those waves, that's like symbolics of the apex. Makes me want to watch that again. Anyway, Renna G, I hit that 2 hour mark, and I'm gonna take a break because I'm kind of tired. But if you're feeling my shit, let me know. I'll jump back into the abracadabra. More stuff with biblical stuff. I wrote down a bunch with electromagnetism. Um, so anyway, rocking out to the next one. Peace, Renna G.